Not Your Dad's Remote Control Airplane: Toy Drones Upsetting Aviation World. By Fair Warning, adapted by News ELA staff on 2/23/16, and this is the Level 8 article. Washington, D.C. On a Saturday night in December, student Owen Oyang went out to the front yard of his California home and launched a new drone he had recently bought for about $1,000. The 2.8-pound unmanned aerial vehicle was advertised as easy to fly. It proved to be anything but. Soon after takeoff, the drone veered dangerously toward a power line. It then climbed more than 700 feet, right into the path of a California Highway Patrol helicopter. A head-on collision was avoided only after the helicopter's crew made a sharp turn at the last moment. The harrowing episode illustrates a growing safety concern as more and more drones, particularly ones used for recreation, take flight into the national airspace. Their popularity is booming in the United States. Sales of drones that weigh more than a half pound are expected to reach 1 million this year. At the same time, critics fear that the chances of a catastrophic collision with a manned aircraft, possibly even a commercial jetliner, also are soaring. If we don't act now, it's only a matter of time before we have a tragedy on our hands, Senator Dianne Feinstein, a California Democrat, said last June. Regulations are lacking. Some critics focus the blame on the companies that sell drones used for fun. The aircraft sell from under $100 to $3,000 or more. These drones, like Ouyang's device, can zoom to impressive altitudes. Critics say, however, that they usually lack the navigation and communication systems and design quality needed to ensure safe flying. Paul Hudson is president of the airline passenger advocacy group FlyersRights.org. He said drone company representatives had convinced the Federal Aviation Administration to essentially allow drone makers and sellers to not follow basic aircraft rules. The FAA is the government group that makes rules for aircraft. Industry officials say fears are overblown. They say they already are adding a new safety feature. The record we have to date should speak for itself, said Brendan Schulman of DJI, the Chinese drone maker that dominates the recreational market. In tens of millions of hours of drones flying, nobody has been killed by a recreational drone, he said. Looking for oversight, safety. Still, Feinstein and Senator Charles Schumer, a New York Democrat, wanted a law to give the FAA broad authority to regulate people who fly drones as a hobby. The measure also would direct the aviation agency to require manufacturers of drones built for recreation or business to add safety features. The features would include limits on how high or where the devices can fly. Chelsea Sullenberger supports the proposed law. Sullenberger is the retired airline pilot known for successfully executing an emergency water landing in the Hudson River of New York in 2009, when his aircraft was disabled after striking a flock of geese. Sullenberger said, "The huge upsurge in the number of drones and of reckless actions by drone users has greatly increased the risk to everyone who flies." Feinstein has vowed to press her case in Congress. The drone industry appears ready to put up a fight, although much of its focus is on planned regulations for operators of drones for business. The Small UAV Coalition includes manufacturers such as DJI, along with Amazon, Google, and Intel. It spent $890,000 last year trying to convince Congress and federal agencies to its view. That was 4 times the group's spending on lobbying in 2014, when it was founded, according to the Center for Responsive Politics. Hundreds of near misses. Already, there are many worrisome incidents. A report released in December identified 327 close encounters between drones and manned aircraft over a 21-month period that ended last September. These included 51 cases in which the drones and piloted aircraft came within 50 feet of each other, and 28 incidents in which a pilot maneuvered to avoid a collision. Drones flying above a dozen wildfires last summer in California forced authorities to pull back firefighting planes, in some cases to avoid mid-air collisions. Drones also have flown close to some of the nation's busiest airports and have approached commercial planes carrying hundreds of passengers. Some worry that easily available high-flying drones could become a difficult-to-defeat weapon for militants. Drone guidelines have been voluntary. Regulation has been slow to come, however. A rule that drones had to be registered was announced in December. Otherwise, recreational drone users have operated largely under voluntary FAA guidelines dating to 1981 for model aircraft. The guidelines say users should limit flying to 400 feet above ground. However, there are no requirements for operators to be trained or for their drones to be approved by the government. The FAA can fine those who fly recklessly, but the agency has rarely used that authority. The FAA proposed a new rule last February. It would ease standards for small drones used for business purposes, such as aerial photography, checking on power lines, and crop monitoring. The agency said it expected to issue the final rule by late this spring. The amount of damage a drone can inflict on a commercial or another manned aircraft remains unknown because there is little or no information about the issue. The FAA only recently began research on the collision hazards posed by drones. FAA spokesperson Les Dorr said the agency hoped to get some findings by September.